Welcome to History in Focus. Before we begin, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel for more historical content. Also, let me know in the comments which moment impacted you the most. Enjoy the video. This haunting photograph shows Peter, a runaway slave, revealing the scars of brutal whippings he endured on a Louisiana plantation. Taken in 1863, the image became a powerful symbol of the cruelty of slavery, exposing the inhuman treatment of enslaved people in America. This striking display at the Harold Washington Library in Chicago commemorates the 58,307 American soldiers who lost their lives in the Vietnam War. Each dog tag represents a life sacrificed, a sobering reminder of the cost of war and the lives forever changed by it. These haunting images from 1904 show indigenous Filipinos brought to the St. Louis Exposition, where they were displayed in human zoos. The U.S. government imported over 1,300 people from different tribes, treating them as spectacles for public viewing, a disturbing chapter in history. In this shocking image from June 18, 1964, James Brock, the manager of Monson Motor Lodge, poured muriatic acid into the pool to force black protesters out. This act of racism during the civil rights movement became a symbol of the deep racial divide in America. This haunting 1890 photograph shows a patient in a mental institution in Germany. Forced to stand in a crucifixion pose, this inhumane treatment was considered acceptable for mental illness in the 19th century, revealing the brutal methods used in the name of healing. In this powerful image, a Croatian soldier sits in front of a wall that reads, "God, if I die young, send me to heaven. In hell, I have already been." This photograph from the Croatian War of Independence captures the desperation and emotional toll of war. This 1948 photo shows George McLaurin, the first African-American student admitted to the University of Oklahoma. Despite his admission, he was forced to sit apart from white students, a stark reminder of the racial segregation in education during that time. Blanche Monnier was held captive in a small room by her aristocratic mother and brother for 26 years in Poitiers, France. Discovered in 1901, she had not seen sunlight for decades, and her tragic story shocked the world, revealing the horrors of her confinement. During World War II, the fear of chemical warfare led to the creation of gas masks for babies. This eerie 1940 photo shows nurses testing these special masks designed to protect infants from potential gas attacks, a haunting reminder of the war's reach into every aspect of life. This powerful image from June 1962 shows Father Luis Manuel Padilla comforting a wounded government soldier during a violent revolt against President Betancourt in Puerto Cabello, Venezuela. The photograph captures the humanity amidst chaos, symbolizing hope in a time of bloodshed. This haunting image from 1945 shows the prisoners of Ebensee concentration camp shortly after liberation. Emaciated and weakened, these survivors endured unimaginable horrors during World War II, a somber reminder of the atrocities committed in Nazi camps. In this poignant 1951 photo from the Korean War, a young girl exhausted from the conflict carries her brother on her back as they pass a stalled M26 tank. The image reflects the harsh reality of war for civilians, especially children, who bore its heavy burdens. This 1900 photograph shows Belgian coal miners packed into a mine elevator after a long day of work underground. The cramped and dangerous conditions highlight the harsh realities of labor during the industrial era, where miners risked their lives daily. This 1950s photograph, taken by Harold Edgerton's Rapatronic camera, captures the exact moment of a nuclear test detonation with a shutter speed of 1/100 millionth of a second. The image shows the raw power and destructive potential of nuclear weapons in stunning detail. In 1922, female factory workers known as the Radium Girls painted watch dials with radium-laced paint without any protection. Believing the paint was harmless, many ingested dangerous amounts of radium, leading to severe radiation poisoning, a tragic consequence of industrial negligence. This 1918 photograph shows nurses working in bomb trenches between hospital wards during World War I in France. These trenches provided a small measure of protection from bombings as they cared for wounded soldiers, a stark reminder of the dangers medical personnel faced during the war. This chilling 1918 photograph captures the execution of Red Rebels during the insurrection in Varkaus, Finland. The Finnish Civil War divided the country, and this image serves as a stark reminder of the brutal consequences of rebellion and the deep scars left by the conflict. This 1951 photograph from the Korean War shows captured Chinese soldiers pleading for their lives, fearing execution. The image captures a moment of desperation, reflecting the brutal realities of war where fear and uncertainty often dominated. This eerie photograph shows the flash burns on the steps of the Sumitomo Bank in Hiroshima, caused by the atomic bomb dropped on the city in 1945. The intense heat from the blast left permanent marks, serving as a chilling reminder of the devastation and destruction brought by nuclear warfare. This photograph from 1945 shows the Gadget, the first atomic bomb ever created, just before the Trinity test. This historic moment marked the dawn of the nuclear age, a development that would forever change the course of human history and warfare. This 1970 photo shows Jeannie Wiley, a 13-year-old who barely knew how to walk after years of severe abuse. Locked in a small room by her father, Jeannie became known as the feral child, a tragic case of neglect and isolation that shocked the world. Before European colonization, the Maori of New Zealand preserved the heads of their enemies as trophies, known as mokamokai. These heads were boiled, dried, and preserved with shark oil. Later, the British looted these sacred artifacts, turning them into collector's items, as seen in this photograph. Anatoly Moskvin, a Russian academic and self-proclaimed necropolist, had a dark obsession with collecting dolls made from the corpses of young girls. For years, he exhumed bodies and turned them into human-like dolls, keeping them in his home as eerie companions. Captured in 1937 by photographer Victor Bulla, this eerie image shows Soviet youth members of the Young Pioneers wearing gas masks during a military drill in Leningrad. The photo reflects the tense atmosphere in the USSR as the country braced for potential war and internal repression under Stalin. This heartbreaking photograph from 1948 shows the Chalafoux family in Chicago facing eviction and extreme poverty. Desperate for money, the parents put up a sign offering their 4 children for sale. This image is a painful reminder of how poverty can tear families apart. In August 1971, psychology professor Philip Zimbardo conducted the Stanford Prison experiment to study how power and authority could corrupt. Volunteers were divided into guards and prisoners, and the results showed how quickly individuals can turn cruel under the right circumstances, raising important ethical questions. This eerie vintage Halloween costume, with its unsettling skull mask and old-fashioned attire, captures the disturbing essence of past decades' Halloween traditions. Even today, such costumes evoke a sense of fear and intrigue, showing how deeply the holiday's creepy spirit runs. In 1959, Soviet scientist Vladimir Demikov successfully grafted a second head onto a dog after numerous failed attempts. This bizarre experiment connected the circulatory systems of both heads, allowing each to function. The image reflects the eerie lengths of Cold War-era scientific experimentation. Before becoming one of America's most notorious serial killers, John Wayne Gacy, seen here as a baby, lived an ordinary childhood. Later in life, he would be convicted for the brutal murders of at least 33 young men. This innocent-looking photo contrasts sharply with the horrors to come. On April 1, 1946, an 8.6 magnitude earthquake triggered a massive tsunami that devastated Hilo, Hawaii. With waves reaching heights of up to 13 stories, more than 170 people lost their lives. This photo captures the final terrifying moments as the deadly waters surged into the town. This 1883 mugshot of Pete Spence shows the notorious outlaw who terrorized Arizona. Suspected of killing Morgan Earp, brother of Wyatt Earp, Spence avoided conviction because the only witness, his wife, was barred from testifying due to spousal privilege. This 1916 photo of a shell-shocked soldier taken during the Battle of Flers-Courcelette captures the mental toll of World War I. Trench warfare left many soldiers psychologically scarred, long before terms like PTSD were understood. Many veterans faced these mental battles alone. In 1647, laborers discovered a naturally mummified body while working on a cathedral in Venzone, Italy. The body, although shriveled and dried to just 33 pounds, had not decomposed. Over the centuries, more mummies were found, sparking theories about the unique soil conditions or fungal activity responsible for this remarkable preservation. Captured on the morning of August 3, 1952, this eerie photo seems to depict 4 unidentified flying objects, UFOs, hovering over the skies of Salem, Massachusetts. Photographer Shel Alpert took this image at Salem's Coast Guard Air Station, with the UFOs spotted above Winter Island and Cat Cove. Despite much speculation, little is known about the origins of this peculiar image. At the turn of the 19th century, medical students often posed for photographs with deceased subjects. Privileged access to the body marked a social, moral, and emotional boundary crossing, wrote John Harley Warner and James M. Edmondson in Dissection. Photographs of a rite of passage in American medicine, 1880 to 1930. The quote scrawled on the table in this photo, "A student's dream," explains that it was this student's dream to trade places with the cadavers and have them pose with him. How he arranged the bodies before the photograph was taken remains a mystery. When Soviet cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov was assigned to pilot the Soyuz 1 mission on April 23, 1967, he knew it would be his final mission. The spacecraft had demonstrated critical issues during testing, and it was clear to all that it was not safe. Despite these warnings, no one dared to stop the mission due to fear of disappointing Soviet leadership. Komarov himself chose to proceed, knowing that refusing would likely result in his friend, cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin, being sent in his place. His heroic and tragic decision marked him as the first human to die during a space mission. Hannelore Schmatz was the 4th woman in the world to reach the summit of Mount Everest. Tragically, she became the first woman to die on the mountain. In 1979, the German mountaineer and her husband attempted the climb with high hopes. However, on the descent, Schmatz succumbed to exhaustion and the freezing temperatures. Her body remained frozen in place on the slopes of Everest for years, serving as a haunting reminder of the dangers of the world's tallest peak. This haunting image captures the Capuchin crypt in Rome around 1900, where the bones and skeletons of nearly 4,000 Capuchin friars have been meticulously arranged into decorative patterns. The crypt serves as a morbid reminder of the inevitability of death and was constructed to honor those who passed, with each bone forming intricate designs on the walls, ceilings, and altars. The skeletons were used to create macabre yet beautiful displays, often seen as a reflection on the fragility and shortness of life. This remarkable creation from the 18th century shows one of the earliest examples of mechanical automatons built by French inventors. The automaton, resembling a young girl, was crafted to simulate human actions. These early machines, often referred to as automaton dolls, were complex mechanisms, powered by intricate gears and springs. This particular automaton could write or draw using a quill, showcasing the remarkable engineering capabilities of the time. This haunting image features Lon Chaney, known as the Man of a Thousand Faces, in the 1924 silent film He Who Gets Slapped. Chaney plays a tragic character named He, a scientist who becomes a circus clown after a series of personal betrayals. The film, produced by MGM, was one of Chaney's most memorable performances, showcasing his incredible ability to convey deep emotion through expressive makeup and body language. This bizarre and unsettling photograph from 1945 captures a sideshow act at Coney Island featuring a headless woman. Such illusions were a staple of mid-20th century carnival and circus sideshows, drawing large crowds with their strange and often grotesque spectacles. The headless woman trick was achieved through a clever combination of lighting, mirrors, and mechanical props to create the illusion that the woman was truly missing her head while still appearing alive. This eerie image from 1946 shows a dinner table ominously arranged for 14 guests. The hanging nooses above each seat suggest a macabre and unsettling theme. The purpose of this arrangement remains a mystery, leaving one to wonder about the intention behind this chilling dinner setting. This photo shows a unique collection of glass eyes that a salesman would carry with him in the early 1900s. These artificial eyes were designed for people who had lost an eye and needed a prosthetic replacement. The variety of glass eyes reflects the attention to detail in crafting realistic options for those in need. This eerie image captures the production process of doll heads in a toy factory around 1900. The heads, hanging from metal racks, are covered in dripping wax or paint, giving them a macabre and unsettling appearance. It almost looks as if the dolls are melting or decaying, frozen in time as the factory worked to mass-produce them. In this intriguing image from 1925, two entertainers carefully unpack their ventriloquist dummy and various props, preparing for a performance. The detailed setup, with lifelike features on the dummy and an array of tools and equipment, gives us a glimpse into the world of early 20th century show business, where such dummy companions were a staple for comedic acts and stage performances. This letter, written by schizophrenic patient Emmy Hauck, contains only the repeated phrases "Herzen Schatzi komm," darling, please come, and "Komm, komm, komm, come, come, come." The obsessive repetition captures the depths of her mental illness and the emotional torment she endured, pleading for her husband's presence. This haunting document serves as a powerful reminder of the devastating effects of schizophrenia and the pain it can bring to both the patient and their loved ones. During an intense heat wave in 1929, these department store wax mannequins began to melt under the extreme temperatures. Their distorted appearance created an eerie scene, highlighting just how vulnerable wax figures were to the elements. This rare photo captures a unique moment in history when even everyday objects were not immune to nature's forces. This 1900 illustration is an example of early anti-electricity propaganda, portraying the dangers of electrical wires and power lines. The image dramatizes the potential hazards of electricity, showing people being electrocuted in the streets emphasizing the fear and uncertainty many had toward the rapidly spreading technology of the time. It reflects the skepticism and concern about the safety of electrical power during its early adoption. This photograph captures the exhausted faces of children who worked long hours in dangerous coal mines during the early 20th century. Child labor in mines was common at the time, with young boys often performing backbreaking work in hazardous conditions. Their soot-covered faces and weary expressions reflect the harsh realities of child labor before regulations were introduced to protect them. This haunting image shows the aftermath of a train boiler explosion, which left the locomotive shredded and twisted beyond recognition. Boiler explosions were a terrifying hazard during the age of steam-powered trains, often resulting in catastrophic damage and loss of life. The chaotic tangle of metal in this photo is a stark reminder of the power and danger that early steam engines carried. This eerie diving suit from the 18th century is one of the earliest known examples of underwater exploration gear. Made of thick, heavy material to withstand the pressure of deep waters, this suit represents the daring efforts of early divers who braved the unknown depths of the ocean. Despite its crude appearance, it played a crucial role in advancing underwater exploration. This photograph from 1938 shows two women carefully washing a crucifix outside a church. The image highlights the reverence and care taken in maintaining religious artifacts. It serves as a powerful reminder of the devotion to spiritual symbols, even in the midst of everyday life. This haunting image, captured by renowned photographer Bill Brandt in 1934, depicts a man in formal attire clinging to a lamppost on a foggy London night. The eerie atmosphere, created by the thick fog and stark shadows, emphasizes the man's disoriented state, giving the scene a mysterious and almost cinematic quality. In the 1920s, women took extreme measures to protect their skin from the sun. This full-face swimming mask was one such invention, designed to shield the wearer's face from harmful UV rays, long before modern sunscreens were popularized. The eerie design of the mask reflects the lengths people went to in order to avoid tanning, which was once associated with outdoor labor and not yet seen as fashionable. In 1925, a devastating fire swept through Madame Tussauds Wax Museum in London, damaging many of the iconic wax figures. The image captures some of the melted figures, disfigured from the intense heat. Despite the tragic loss, the museum was able to restore many pieces over the following years. But this photo remains a haunting reminder of the fire's destruction. This eerie yet fascinating image from the 1930s shows a large gathering of Mickey Mouse Club members, all wearing identical Mickey Mouse masks. The Mickey Mouse Club, one of the earliest fan clubs, was wildly popular among children and families during this time, helping to cement Mickey Mouse as a cultural icon. This peculiar image from 1939 brings to life the iconic nursery rhyme character, Humpty Dumpty. Captured in a park-like setting, a life-sized figure of Humpty Dumpty sits atop a wall while a young girl looks up at him. The character, best known for his great fall, has long been a beloved figure in children's literature and folklore. This photo represents a moment of creative imagination from a time when nursery rhymes were a key part of childhood. This haunting yet fascinating photograph from the Victorian era showcases a baby held by its mother, who is cleverly concealed beneath a sheet. This style of photography was common in the 19th century, where mothers would hide to ensure their baby remained still for the long exposure times. The concealed parent technique created an eerie, ghostly appearance in family portraits, adding a mysterious element to a seemingly ordinary moment. In the 1920s, Paris was home to a unique and eerie establishment known as Hell's Café. With its bizarre, devilish decor and dimly lit atmosphere, the café attracted people looking for an unusual experience. Visitors would sit among sculptures of demons and other nightmarish figures while sipping their drinks, adding to the surreal and unsettling ambiance.